Good morning and Boker Tov everyone. I hope you and your families are doing well. In today's Halacha, we will discuss two topics connected to each other. The first one is, when you start the Melacha before Shabbat and you continue on Shabbat, is it okay? And number two is, if you set up a timer before Shabbat, can the timer have its effect and its use on Shabbat? So when it comes to the first question, everybody knows that the Halacha is like Bet Hillel in the Gemara, who hold that if you are starting a Melacha, for example, let's say you're going to start irrigating your garden before Shabbat, and you're going to let the water the ground on Shabbat itself, but you started the process before Shabbat, you are allowed to do so. This is actually something that we do every Friday, as we leave the food getting cooked on the plata, on the blech, before Shabbat, and eventually the food will cook during Shabbat, even though we are going to do a melacha, knowing that bishul is one of the 39 melachot on Shabbat. Cooking on Shabbat is asur. Because you started the process before Shabbat, it is allowed to do so. However, there is a discussion between Sephardim and Ashkenazim when it comes to something that makes noise. For example, a washing machine. So let's say I want to put my clothes inside before Shabbat and let the washing machine work on Shabbat. The Rama, followed by the Ashkenazim, say that there is a problem here of avsha milta, the fact that it makes noise, and it's disrespectful for the Shabbat. It goes against the spirit of Shabbat. However, the Shulchan Aruch seems not to hold this way, and therefore, according to Sephardim, following the Shulchan Aruch, Me'ikar Hadin, it is allowed. Now, obviously, it's definitely better not to take this option, but in case of emergency, such as the Hayalim that come back from the base right before Shabbat, also Bachurei Yeshivot, etc., someone who came home last minute, he will be able to rely on this Halacha to start the process before Shabbat, even if it continues on Shabbat. The second topic that I spoke about was the timer. So the same idea, the fact that you start a timer, you set up a timer before Shabbat that will basically work on Shabbat. For example, we use this all the time for the light in the house. So you want the light to turn on at a specific time and to turn off at a specific time. You are allowed to do so before Shabbat, just for the same reason than the first halacha, because you are preparing everything beforehand. When it comes to food, putting a timer for the food, this is more complicated. There are many opinions, especially among the Ashkenazim, that are very, very strict, and they are saying that it's worse than even asking a goy to do it on Shabbat. However, Chacham Ovadia says that even for food, the timer is an option, and we could use it just like we do for the light. However, everyone agrees that some actions and attitude on Shabbat will not be allowed even if you started before or you put a timer. For example, a microphone on Shabbat. Even though you set up a timer or you let the microphone on before Shabbat, you may not use it on Shabbat because it involves the use of electricity during Shabbat. So therefore, not possible. Also the TV. TV is a big deal. Letting the TV on before Shabbat or setting a timer for the TV before Shabbat is not okay, for multiple reasons. Number one, if you are in Eretz Israel, many Jews are the ones that are involved in the melachot, in the TV, in the program itself, sometimes the technicians. So therefore, you're benefiting from a Jew doing a melacha on Shabbat. And even if it's not a Jew who's involved, however, many times on TV, we have issues when you are watching TV of forbidden images, wrong messages, ideas that are against Torah, and for that reason, TV in general, even not on Shabbat, is something we should avoid watching. And the last but not least is the fact that the TV is going against the spirit of Shabbat. Watching TV on Shabbat does not fit at all what we expect a person to feel on Shabbat. The concept of kedusha, of holiness, family, spending time together. The TV breaks all this, and therefore, watching TV on Shabbat, even using those systems of timer or letting the TV on before Shabbat, is not something that is okay. Now, two more halachot that are tiny halachot but connected to this idea of preparation before Shabbat is, if a person is sending a message, an email, a fax from Israel to America or America to Israel. Let's say that you are in America on Friday, in Israel it's already Shabbat. Can you send a fax to Eretz Israel? If the person over there already has Shabbat, now he's going to open this email or he's going to accept the fax on Shabbat and have melachot involved. If he's not religious, it's going to be a problem, so you should avoid doing that. However, if he's going to wait until Shabbat is over for him, then it's okay. And one more thing, make sure to check your pockets before Shabbat, before you go out, for mukseh and for carrying on Shabbat, to make sure that you're not going to be carrying with you anything that is not allowed during Shabbat. Have an amazing day.